So welcome to this night's game night bingo and card class fun. And we're going to, our cards tonight are going to be from October 2021's Paper Pumpkin. And I'm excited about tonight's class. And so I'm going to open this up and show what usually comes in a Paper Pumpkin in case anyone has not done a Paper Pumpkin yet. And so that you can see they're not all the same every time. Sometimes you get 3 different cards and you'll get 3, of each of those cards. Sometimes it's gift bags, sometimes it's other things. But this one is this cute box. It's a little smushed, but that's okay. And it's a cute box. And so we're going to open this up. And on the inside, Paper Pumpkins come with an ink spot each time. And this one happens to be shaded spruce, but we're going to use my regular ink pad. And it has this adorable stamp set. I don't know if you can see that, but it says, "Merry Christmas, peaceful Christmas wishes, wishing you and your family all the best, holiday cheer to you and yours, from our home to yours." And then this one says, "Sending you peace and joy all year long." And it's got some snowflakes and these really cute trees. So this is a really nice stamp set that came in this box. Not that other ones aren't, but it seems to have extra stamps with it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stamps. And a lot of times whenever you get a regular stamp set, you have about 9 stamps in there. So this is almost like having a full stamp set. So those are really cool. So put that there. And then here's an insert that tells that it coordinates with some of our product that we have in the mini catalog. And it's the Peaceful Christmas Sweet Collection. And so it has like the cabin and then this here DSP. And so you can bring these items in to go along with your Paper Pumpkin for this month. So set that off to the side. And then it's always wrapped up in tissue paper. And if you're careful, you can open the tissue paper up and you could use it for a gift giving. So like if you make all these cards, then you can gift them and put the tissue paper in whatever packaging that you have. So I'm going to put that in there and I'll close the box, set it off to the side. So this is how it generally comes packaged up. It has these are envelopes, it has your card bases, and then it's got your extra stuff in here. So, and then back here are instructions. So we're going to open these up. I knew this was going to be an adorable set in the Paper Pumpkin this time. So I did up my order specifically because I wanted to do this for our game night. So we'll get everything out of here and kind of go through what we get. I always keep the cardboard that's in here for in case I'm shipping something, and that gives it stability. So I always keep that. And then you get your instructions. And then we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 envelopes here. And they are all with the silver trees. And then on the inside, they're the buffalo check. And then you have these little rhinestones. There you go. And then these die cut words. They're all Noel, so there's enough for 5 of them. So one of the cards, you use the Noel. So there's enough for 5 of each card. And then we have these different layers. This is the buffalo check in the green, and it's a spruce, shaded spruce. And I can't tell if that's just a darker green or if that's a black, but so you get the layer for your shaded spruce. This piece of layer here that looks like wood, and it's a gray. On camera it may look a little brown, but it's like a smoky slate gray. And then we have the circle of that same buffalo check. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. And then we have these cute vellum trees. Pop these out. There we go. You could use them as a complete bunch. You could cut them in half and do a bunch of 3. So you could like trim here and do 3 and 2, or you could like trim there and do 3 and 2. So we have those. So there's that. And then we have one, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 10 of these little, I think it's cherry cobbler banners. And they just punch out also. Oops. Goes like that. And then we have these tags, and you get 6 tags, even though I think we're only need 5. But we'll pop one of those out. And then our card bases. We have the shaded spruce. It's shaded spruce on the back, shaded spruce on the front, and then on the inside, it's white so that you can stamp on the inside because of the lighter color. So we will do one of those right now. And then this one is a real showstopper. It's gorgeous. And it is like our DSP that we have offered to us. But this is scored. This is the card front and the card back. So when you fold it over, this is what you see on the front. That's what you see on the back. And on the inside, it's white also. Okay, so we're going to need one of those. And then it comes with some red twine. Glue dots, and dimensionals. So you have enough in this kit to make 10 cards. But I'm going to bring in some other items for some alternatives and make this go farther to get more than 10 cards out of one paper pumpkin. So what I'm doing tonight is everybody's not going to get their own paper pumpkin, but you will get enough supplies to make at least one each of these, and then enough of all the supplies so that you can make the alternatives that I have. And so I can't remember if I have 4 alternatives or 3. I can't remember. So normally we do 4 cards for bingo night, but tonight you're going to get more than 4 cards. So we will get started here. So I need one of those, I know. So we'll set these other items off to the side. I know I'm going to need one of these. I'll set that off to the side and set my envelopes over. Okay, so we're going to use the instructions, and I already had one of the paper pumpkins opened to work on my alternatives. And so I have all of my stamps already mounted, but the one that we're going to need is the Merry Christmas. And so I'll bring that out, and then instead of using my stamping spot, then I'm going to use my full size ink pad in the same shades, Shaded Spruce. And so, and then any glue dots or dimensionals that I will use from my own supply instead of using up the ones that are nice for on the go. Okay, so let's look at our instructions here. And it shows. Now we will need to use the red twine because I don't think I have red twine. Okay, so instruction 1 is we're using the Shaded Spruce base. We're using the Buffalo Plaid layer. Go ahead and get that out. We're going to use the Smoky Slate wood piece. And then, let's see. I think that's it. All right, and then this Noel. All right, so for card 1, the first thing that we need to do is we're going to do some stamping with the row of trees, and we're going to do the Shaded Spruce, and it looks like we're just going to make it a background behind the vellum trees. So we'll do that first. I need to bring that row of trees out. So I have that. So the first thing that we're going to do is stamp that row of trees right here on that. So let's put this over here. I'm going to open my Shaded Spruce. Ink this up. And it looks like maybe about right there. And so you can definitely see it on the cardstock. And so because it has a white backing, if you don't like some of the white showing, just kind of tap it in the ink pad. And then your edges won't be that stark white. Okay, so we'll set that down. And it looks like that we need to bring in dimensionals. I have some here, and add dimensionals to the back of this. So we'll flip this over. They go to get together quite quickly. It shows 4 dimensionals, but I like to put one in the middle also. Okay, so we'll bring in my card base. Whoops. Bring it together. All right, so this is going to be a landscape card. I'm gonna go ahead and take my backings off my dimensionals. Make certain that it opens this way, and then add this to my card front. So just line it up like that. So it's tone on tone. Alrighty. Now then, it looks like it's time to bring in our trees. So the next thing will be this, and I will use my glue dots here and just add them. It looks like it's through the center of the 3 trees here. It's kind of like in a row. So it's going to be covered with something. So we're going to bring that in here towards the bottom. And put that down just like that. So then it shows the next thing is the little piece of wood grain. Looks like a couple of dimensionals on the back of that. Clear that away. And then our red banner. Looks like a couple of glue dots on the back of this. And so we'll get that prepared. One there. On this other end. And then our Noel. Looks like the same thing on this. So I'm going to take my take your pick tool. And I'm going to roll it up just a little bit because the glue dots on the roll are a little bit bigger than the glue dots in the kit. So I'm going to add a glue dot here. And then it looks like one on the O and one on the L. I normally don't follow instructions this well, but being it's for a class, I thought maybe I should show. And then we'll bring my alternatives out here in a minute. So right there. All right, so all of them are prepped. So it looks like that the first thing that goes down is the wood grain. And it looks like it goes over here to the right just a little bit past the trees. Then the banner goes on next. It looks like it's down towards the bottom of this. A little bit of the wood grain showing through. So like that. And then it looks like the Noel comes in. And it goes across all of that. So there we go. And then you can add rhinestones. It shows a few rhinestones being added to it. Let's see if I have some that I can use instead of using what's in the kit. So all right. Got pulled the glue off that one. I like to cut them apart before I try to use them that way. I can pick them up with my tool. Well, maybe with my, so we'll add that there. And we'll get the next one. And we'll add that up here. Get the next one. And it looks like they added it down here. So there we go. There's our first card. You can see a little bit of the trees behind it. Just a little bit of it. So there we go. Our first card is done. So using the paper pumpkin, it'd be really quick and easy to do your Christmas cards and be ready to get them sent out. There we go. And so the beautiful envelope coordinates with this, has the buffalo check inside, has the trees that match up. So there we go. There's our first card. So set that off to the side. So now then, let's check it out for our second card. All right, so for card number 2, we are going to mount our Merry Christmas, which I've used this with real red. But I'm going to clean it, make certain it's cleaned up, because I think it is, because red just stains photopolymer stamp sets, but be certain. Oh, one thing that I like to do, so I made it according to their instructions. On the inside, you can put a sentiment, but I also want to put a row of trees at the bottom. I like to add something to the inside, and so there we go. And you can keep, like, you could add to the end and put a whole row of trees. I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so I just stamped it. I didn't really center it. And then I'm going to ink this stamp up again. And then I'm going to come in here and butt it up against the other tree, because they kind of overlap all of them. Stamp. And you can't even really tell that I did that. And then we're going to move down to this other end and kind of do the same thing on this other end. And then it looks like one continuous row of trees. So that adds a little something extra to it. And then when I decide what my inside sentiment's going to be, then I will add that later. So you want to let this dry before you just close your card, or you may have the trees up there. So I'm going to put the green in between, the envelope in between, so that makes certain that has time to dry. Okay, so now then on to our next card. We have this card base that's gorgeous. Like I said, it's a showstopper. So we're going to fold this over, line it up, and if you, instead of just doing the edge, if you do the whole thing, it stays closed better than if you just do the edge. It does something to the rest of it. Okay, so step number 2 is we need about 6 inches of this thread. So I have a thing here, and there's also inside your paper pumpkin, there is a ruler. So it says 6 inches. So we'll go to right there. Okay. And then we need one of our circles. And that's it for that piece. And then we need that red banner. We need our stamp. And then we need this tag. So on the tag, we are going to stamp Merry Christmas. And the tags are gorgeous because they are outlined in the silver. So everything coordinates so nicely. So let's ink this up. And we're going to center this. And stamp Merry Christmas. And hopefully I didn't move it too much because there we go. It doesn't look too bad at all. I like the font on it. It's pretty. Okay. So now then we need to tie our bow. Oops. Guess I should do it on camera, not off. So I hold the knot, pull on the little tails, and then pull the loops to get my cute bow. And then you just hold the knot again, pull on the tails, and it makes it smaller. So there is our bow. All right. So now then we need to add, looks to me like glue dots on the back of the two of these things and dimensionals on the back of this. So let's bring in our dimensionals, add it to the back. Bring in the glue dots. It shows 3 for the circle. And 2 for the banner again. Okay. There we go. Oh, and it looks like 1 for the bow. I'll wait to put that on because what if I need my bow smaller? So anyway, we'll get started putting this together. So this is gorgeous. So it looks like we put our buffalo check circle down, and I want mine going a particular way. So I will add that. Looks like to about right there. And then it looks like the next thing is the banner. Looks like it goes maybe right about there. And then our tag that says Merry Christmas. Right there. And then bring in our bow and see if it's about the right size. Looks like it might be good. So we'll go ahead and add our glue dot right here. There we go. And then we'll add our little red bow right there. So there's that. And then bring back in the rhinestones. And it looks like they're on the tag. So or on the buffalo check. So trim this one off and put it there. trim this next one. And I'll put it there. And this next one, we'll put it right down here. So that's the front of this card here. So that's really cute, very simple to do, but we'll go ahead and add to the inside. This time I'm going to try to center it. There we go. And we have those lovely trees at the bottom. There we go. And that also coordinates with an envelope as it's all goes together. So there's our second card. So that you get, if you would have ordered the paper pumpkin, you would have gotten 5 of each of those cards. So that is how that works. And then, not always, but a lot of the times on the back, they will give alternatives also. So like they did a card in blue, and then here they put green through it and then did some trees. And this one here, it looks like that they stamped some larger trees from a different stamp set and then just put Merry Christmas to the center of it. But I'm going to show you my take of the paper pumpkin. All right, so I'll move this stuff out of the way and get room. Put my stamps off to the side so that I don't stick my hand in them. All right, so the first one that we are going to work on is this really cute, simple card. Super simple. And so we don't need the green ink for this one right now. So I'll set that off to the side. But I brought in real red. The banners on the other card, I believe, was cherry cobbler, but I brought in real red. So we'll set that off to the side there. So I will show you how I did this card. Now then, I want to show you something. We have sold in the past the regular Mercury Glass Designer Series designer acetate, and it's silver on both sides. But then for the hydrangea suite, they came out with a lavender and a pink. So this is probably Highland Heather, and it is a colored acetate, but on the back it's silver. So there are 2 sides to the acetate, not acetate. Well, I guess it is. It's the Mercury Glass Designer acetate. So this has the silver on the back, or you could use it with the Highland Heather on the other side. I believe that's Highland Heather, but let me look. It does not say, but I think that's what color it is. So I just wanted to show that being I don't believe we sell the silver acetate any longer, the Mercury Glass. If you happen to have the Highland Heather one, you can use that. Otherwise, I'm using the silver because, you know, we don't have that anymore, and I want to save the other for a design that might use the colored side of it. Right now I have a cramp in my hand. All right, so on this one here, I have a base of Smoky Slate, and it measures the 8.5 by 5.5, and it's scored at 4 1/4. And then I have a piece of the acetate or the Mercury Glass acetate, and it is 4 inches by 5 1/4. And mine is silver on both sides. Like I said, on the other one, it's the lavender on one side, silver on the other, so you could use that. But just remember, there is a coating on these that you have to peel off. And so we'll do that in a moment. And then we have a piece of black, the basic black, and it is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then our card front, we are going to do 4 1/4 by 1 inch for all 3 of these pieces. And then I have just a piece of scrap here, and it's a 1/2 inch, and it's just a long piece of the basic white. And so I just use it over and over until I've used it up. So I will stamp on this end and then do my cutting, and then I'll still have another piece of it left. So there's that. And then I need to bring in the stamp set that is from our home to yours. And so I've got that ready to go. And then I have this beautiful gingham ribbon, and you can dye this with your markers for your alcohol markers, your Stampin' Blends, but I love it as the check, so we're going to use that. And so I might as well go ahead and wrap my piece around and see about how much we might need. So I'm thinking roughly, I bet we could do with 16 inches. So I'll cut that off. So I have my ribbon for that. And then let me get my card front for this. Okay, so I need to bring in my cutter. I'm going to take and, whoops, I have this upside down. I'm going to take and I'm going to flip it over so I can see the line, the score line. So I don't know if you can see this right here. There, if I can block there's a score line right there. So I'm going to put that right in the track. And then press down hard on my blade and cut through that. So I have basically cut the back. So this is the back, this is the front. I'm going to use the front for this card. So I'm going to not discard this because we're going to use this for another card. All right. So I want to cut this down to about 3.5 inches. Then I'm going to just put this off to the side. Who knows? I might find a use for it, but right now I'm just going to put it off to the side. And then I need it to be 4 1/4 inches long. So I want to leave this at the top, and I'm going to take from the bottom. So 4 1/4 inches long. That correct? Let me see. That I don't think is correct. Let me get I think I wrote it wrong. I think it needs to be 5 1/4. I would hate to cut that. It's 4 3/4. Okay, so 4 3/4. That didn't look right because I was cutting way too much of the pretty off. Okay, so I'm glad I caught that. So 4 3/4. So I'm gonna change that on the back here for later, so I won't say it again wrong. Okay, so anyway, there's that. So now then what I'm going to do is I want to make certain that this edge is pretty smooth. So I'm going to just put it in my cutter and just take a sliver off. This I'm throwing away. And then I'm going to line it up at the 1 inch mark, because each one of these are 1 inch wide. So I'm going to put this down and then I'm going to cut that away. And so that's my first 1 inch. And then I'm going to slide it over. And this is going to be my next 1 inch. So there we go. And then I'm trying to get the most of this tree. So I'm going to turn it around, and at the edge of this tree, I'm going to put that in my groove right here, so that I'm at 1 1/4 right now. So I'm going to line that up. I'm just trying to get as much of the tree. So this is a lot larger than a 1 inch. So I know that tree is about 1 inch wide. So I'm just going to take a little bit off this edge. And then I'm going to line it up at the 1 inch mark. Okay. And then put down my blade and cut that. And now then, because I trimmed off this edge here, I have mostly that whole tree in that last piece. I didn't want it to be a partial tree, so I'll do that. All right, so now we'll start putting it together. So I need to find that film that's on here. So you just kind of pick at the edge a little bit. I don't think I've taken it off already. Maybe I did, but I don't think so. Oh, it's starting to come up. There it is. And you just have to like take your fingernail and there we go. See, it's just this clear film that you have to take off. And then you're left with this. So now I'm going to add adhesive to the back of this. I'm going to use glue. And then I'm going to add it to my card front. And I want to give an equal border at the top, the left side, and the bottom if I can. So I'll press that down. So that's my first one. Then the next one that I'm going to put down is this last one over here. Make certain my trees go in the right direction. And the same thing, I'm going to try to do equal border at the top, the bottom, and now the right side. Now the center one, we're going to split the difference of the space that's left between the two. That's the best way to have equal spacing. If I would have done this one, then the next one, there would have been too big of a gap. So this is a little trick to get equal spacing between, because I want the border to be equal. So at the top, the bottom, in between the two, it doesn't matter. So they look pretty equal there. So now I'm going to press that down. Okay, so this is a slick on this side. I'm going to use tear tape to adhere it. I'm going to add that up here. Here. Okay. Get my bone folder and burnish each of those. Get certain that they lay down well. Take your pick. If you pull up in the center and lift, it takes the backing right off. So like that. And then I'm going to center that on my piece of mercury acetate. The best that I can. There we go. Now, once you have that step finished, now it's time to come in and put the bow. So put this down, bring my ribbon around here like this. And then crisscross. And then I pull in the opposite direction. So it's going this way. So I'm going to pull at the top. Down just a little bit. Then I have these tweezers that when you press, it opens. When you let it up, they close. I'll slide that up underneath and hold that there. So it makes it easier for making my bows. Now I'll just make my little loop. Wrap this around. Press that through the back. Release. And then I hold the knot each time and pull on the little tails and then go back and pull on the bows, the loops. So 16 inches was enough for me. It might not be enough for everybody else, but there we go. I'm gonna bring in my scissors, trim away. I like how the bow will lay nice and flat. And then we're going to add it to our card front. That. And then I believe I'll use some tear tape again. It's not as slick on the back as it is the other way, but I want to make certain it stays good and adhered. I can find the end of, there it is, it's on that hump. So I'm going to put it going across my ribbon to kind of make certain it stays like that. Okay. Take my bone folder and burnish again. Oh. There's some down there. Okay, so now then we'll take your pick tool and lift it right there. That away. You burnish it well enough, and then you take and just something pointing up underneath it releases so quickly. Make certain that opens that way. And then we're going to center this on our card front. So there we go. And now we need to stamp. We're using Real Red. And this, like I said, this scrap piece. And it's going to read from our home to yours. And this mat under here is one of the, it's like the piercing mats that you use for the photopolymer, but my whole workstation is one of it's a larger mat. And so, it takes the brunt of the stamp. One moment. Okay, so I'm going to take and trim at an angle so that I have my little sentiment. Close that up, and then bring in my dimensionals and put on the back. Let's see, there. All right, so I'll get all my trash out of here. And add this to the front. And I'm going to line it up with the edge of that piece there and put that down. And there we go. That is our first card. And on the inside, I did add a sentiment. So I will grab my Real Red again. And what I did was I stacked both sentiments. I stacked two sentiments, I guess is what I needed to say. So Merry Christmas. And then I have the one that says, yeah. Here it is. Sending you peace and joy all year long. So what I'm going to do is come up underneath that. So that it looks like one stamp. There we go. So now that is our first alternative to the paper pumpkin for October 2021. There we go. And what you can do is take looking for an envelope. This is a very vanilla envelope, but it will work. And so what I would do is bring in a piece of the scratch paper and probably the green ink and ink up the trees. And then find a large tree with a small one beside it and try to get the largest tree on the envelope base. And there you go. So it adds a bit of interest to your envelope, and it would go along with that. But I would probably use a basic white envelope, but I didn't have one nearby, so I used to show you with the very vanilla. So there we go. That's the first alternative card. All right, so now then on to card number 2. These inks. Whoops. All right, so we'll carry on with that second piece that I told you not to discard. And this is the card that we're going to make. So wintry scene. It's a faux shaker card. It's so neat because it just makes it look like a snowy scene. So we'll put that there. Bring in everything that we need. And then we'll need that ribbon again. This time we are only going to wrap it and tie it in a knot. All right, so this is the back part of the card base from our last card. And so we need to cut this down to a card front, and that is a 1/4 inch smaller than a regular card front. So we will do that first. I'll bring in my paper trimmer. And so this edge is the rough edge. So I'm going to cut the most off of that. So I need my, insert to be 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Cut that away. And then I'm going to trim, I believe, from the top this time. So 5 1/4. All right. Certain that that's the right. Yep, looks right. And so I'm going to slide this in to one of our clear envelopes. Slide it in, clear to the bottom, and clear over to the side as far as I can get it. And then I'm going to fold it over. Well, I'll probably fold this piece over. Grab a piece of tape. Like that. And then fold this over this way. Grab this other piece of tape. And take that down. So now this is where we're at with that. any type of like shimmery glitter or anything, I have this jar that I have had forever. It goes a long way. I'm probably not even halfway finished with it, but it just keeps going and going. So I'm going to use that. It's just like an iridescent type glitter. So I'm just going to open like this up a little bit like this and just pour some in. And then I'm going to look at it to see, okay, that might be a bit much, but I don't know if I can pour it back in or not. Because if you get too much, then it puts a lot of bulk there. That's about right. It's a lot of bulk to the card. Put that off to the side. All right. So you can use any glitter that you have. That's just some that I've had for years and years, and it's an iridescent type. And so, all right, so I'm going to now pull this off, fold this over, adhere that down, and then bring in some more Scotch tape. Fold this back and tape that down. You want the areas where the glitter could come out to be sealed. Otherwise, you will have glitter everywhere. So I just basically, it doesn't look pretty on the back, but nobody's going to see that. And so this is our faux shaker card. Super simple, easy shaker card to do. And then we're going to wrap our ribbon. Let's see about how much this is. I'd say about 14 and a half, 15 inches maybe. We probably didn't need, I didn't need quite that much, but it's fine. So up here towards the top, I want to have not quite clear over equal. And then I'm going to crisscross. And then I'm pulling it a little bit tight, so it's bowing just a little bit. Not much. I don't want to bow it in half. Then I'm going to put my tweezers there. And this one here, we're just tying in a bow. Not a bow. So like that. And trim at an angle. Trim this one at an angle. Put my bow or my knot about where I want it. So that looks good, I think, right there. And then I need to use tear tape on this because it's also slick. That is out, so I have this red tape that we used to sell. I'm trying to use up some of my stuff, some of my supplies of things. So I'll put that there. This one you cannot tear, you have to use scissors. And it's almost out also. There's the edge. That there. And then we also want the same thing with this. You want to burnish. Left from the center. That was easier said than done on that one. There we go. And then on that one. To line my card base up. And this is Thick Whisper White. It's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Okay. And this opens from on the right. Turn that back around. Add this to the front of the base. There's a little bit of air in there. If you just press, it makes its way out. All right. So now then we're going to bring in this label from the Stitch So Sweetly dies. And it's one of the labels in there. And the stamp set, Peaceful Christmas Wishes. I'll bring that in with the real red. I have it also on the inside, so I'll stamp this first. Like that. And instead of putting the dimensionals on the back of the tag, we're going to put it on here. That way you have control over where they go. So I'm going to take 2, put them above my ribbon. I'm going to take 2 more, put them below the ribbon. Now on the back of this, I'm going to add tape because it keeps, they die cut through the backing. And so every time I grab one, the backing's coming with it. So I'll fix that problem. And I'm going to take my backings off of the dimensionals. Then bring my tag in and slip it up underneath that piece of ribbon. Drop it down just a bit. Make certain it's lined up parallel with the edge of the card there and press down. So that's the front of our faux shaker card. And then on the inside, we're going to add trees and we're going to add words. So sending you peace and joy all year long. So that's this one. And then the trees, shaded spruce. This is a fun card. It's quick. I mean, I call it quick. It has that fun element of the shaker card to it. It's not hard. There you go. That is our next card. And see, it looks like it's got a snow banks in here, and it always looks different no matter how you shake the card. So there we go. That's the second alternative to our paper pumpkin today. And the same goes for that. You could, like how I did the envelope for the card before, that would be a perfect envelope for that card also. All right, so we used that front and that back to that card base. So that's pretty cool. So we didn't waste any of the product. And so that we got 2 cards basically out of 1 card base. So we already doubled that by doing it that way, by having we did 1 card with the whole base, and then by taking the next one and cutting it in half and then doing 2 different cards. So we got 3 cards instead of 2. So that is smart, working smarter, not harder for your products. So we will bring in the next card. Let's see. This is a cute card also. I think it is anyway. All right, so this is our card that we're going to make next. And so it has that Mercury glass acetate. It has a piece of shaded spruce cardstock. This row of trees is from an envelope. And then this is one of the circles for the from the kit, but you could also use the flap of the envelope and die cut it out or punch it out. And then this is a die cut from our layering circles. I just did a little bit step down of the circle, but I did a scallop, because if I would have put the scallop on the outside, it would just made it bigger and it would have intruded into the trees more. So I wanted to go on the inside, but I wanted to give interest. So I did a scallop on the inside. Nobody says you have to do the scallop on the outside. So, and then I did the row of trees along the bottom of the card. So we will do this one. So the things that we need is we're going to bring in our thick basic white cardstock, and it is the 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. And so we will crease that. And then the next thing that we have is our Mercury glass acetate. It's 2 inches. So it's 2 inches across, 5.5 inches long. Then we have from our basic white, this is just the regular weight of cardstock. And we have the Scallop Circle, and I'm pretty certain it's either the smallest or the next to the smallest on that. And then I have a piece of shaded spruce, and it is 2.5 by 5.5. Okay, so this actually came from the next card, but I will show you where this came from. So you would probably want to do the next card first so that you would have this piece to cut for this, so that you wouldn't do any wasting of product. Remember, work smarter, not harder. So we will get started on this. Now then, we need to bring in one of the envelopes. And I know they're so pretty and we're cutting it apart, but that's okay. So this piece right here is, let's see, it should be the 5.5, and then the height of it is about 1 3/4. So we're going to cut that from here, but then this piece here we're going to use on the next card. I'll take my bone folder and just kind of easy pry this apart here. And then take this and easy pry that apart there. There we go. There we go. So we'll bring in this off to the side here just a bit. But now bring in that paper trimmer. And we'll line this outside edge at the top and just put the score line on the far right side of this track because I don't want that score line in my card. So like here's my track and that score line is right on that very edge. So it is down here too. Yep. Whoop, that's the score blade. Trim that away. This can still be used for something, but right now I don't have a use for it. So I'm going to set it off to the side. I might find a use for it later, but not right at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to turn this around. And this top flap for the envelope, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to put it in here. Right up against this top part. And that score line is right through here. Trim that away. Okay. And so I'll turn this around and then I'm taking this right flap off completely. So this isn't of any use, so I'm going to toss that. You might could find a use for it, but I cannot. So we need this to be 5.5, but I'm going to trim this off first, trim it down, and then do the 5.5 because I don't know what size off the top of my head right now for this piece. So I'm going to flip this over, trim this off, and if you notice that your blade is like snagging and not cutting well, if you press harder, like farther down or harder down, then and go along it, you get a much nicer smooth cut. All right, so can't remember now. I think I said 1 3/4. Yep, 1 3/4. So I'm going to come up. I'll trim a little bit off at the bottom because I can see that it's white is showing there. I mean, just a sliver off. So now then, I'm going to turn it and do my 1 3/4. Like this. So don't discard this. So there's my 1 3/4. So then now I need to cut this down to my 5.5. and it's just a little sliver off. So not much. So that's not much waste at all. So that is out of the way. Let's move that out of the way. So we have our piece cut. And I need to find, remember I said that has a piece of plastic on here. Just use your fingernail. Get it started, peel it right off. If you don't peel it off, it's a possibility that it might release later, and then this part would come off your card. All right, so I'm going to try to attach this with glue. I think it should work. All right. So I'm going to go end to end, but then I need to try to do equal border at the top and the bottom. Like that. So I had the shiniest side up, and you can feel this is a little bit rougher. So when, you know, you have a piece of this Mercury Glass acetate in front of you, you'll be able to tell the difference. And then I'm going to add that here, and it's going to go end to end, but we're going to do equal parts at the top. I guess I'll know whether or not glue works on the Mercury Glass or not after this card. So I'm going to hold that for a moment, make certain that it gets good and attached, because I don't want it to slide in the middle of everything. Okay, so I'll sit this up here, give that a moment to dry, and then we will do our stamping on our scallop circle. Right under there. All right, so I'm going to bring in scratch paper, bring in the shaded spruce ink, our row of trees, move them up. I think I'm going to bring them down just a little bit more, like towards the bottom of the scallop circle instead of so far up. To give more room for the holiday cheer. I'm trying to use as many of the stamps from the set as I can. And so here's the holiday cheer. Ink that up. There we go. So I have that on the scallop circle. And then, oh, I did not grab it. Oh, here it is. And here's that circle. We'll add glue to the back. center that on our little buffalo check circle. Okay. And then I know that that's going to go on with dimensional, so I'll go ahead and do that. I'll do 4, just in case they land on that Mercury Glass acetate. There we go. All right. So now then, we'll start assembling our card. Let's see. Yep, there's some stamping on the inside. We'll do that before we start doing the assembly, because if I mess up and it's already put together, too bad, too sad. I could cut another piece of cardstock or something to fix it, but let's just stamp it first. Okay, so we're going to stamp in the middle the best that we can. And we'll ink it up again, and then butt up the 2 small trees together, and then we'll do the same thing on this end. Isn't that so pretty? This gives it quite a bit. I mean, it's just trees, but it adds so much to the card. It brings forward, or brings in, the trees that are on the front. So I want that to dry for a moment. So we'll just open that up. Okay, so now then we are going to set that off to the side. Add this to our front and leave just a small border at the bottom. I think I could probably make a little bit of a smaller border to give more room for the sentiment, so I'll try that. And it doesn't take a lot of glue, just barely pressing once it starts flowing, and then you just kind of move it around and you get very thin swipes of glue. It does not take a lot of glue. My trees are right side. And then add that right there. So hold that in place for a moment. Make certain it's good and attached. Bring in our use the bone folder. Crease that better. There. So it lays flat. See how nicely that lays? And then bring in our holiday cheer. Just like that. And so there we go. That's our 3rd alternative card for our paper pumpkin for October 2021. Aren't they cute? I love them. I love this set. All right, so we will go to our next card. For this card, we need a full sheet of shaded spruce. And like I said, part of what we're going to cut from this would have been what we would have used for the card we just did, but I will show you that in just a moment. Okay, and then we need a piece of real red, and it is, wrong one, it is 4 inches by 5 1/4. Another piece of real red that is 3 inches by 5 1/4. I've got it at 5 1/2, so I will have to double check that. and then a 1/2 inch by about 4 1/8. And then we have a piece of basic white that is 2 inches by 5 1/2. And then we have our Stitch So Sweetly. And then we also have a tag. And the tag came from the Timeless Label Punch. It was what was that I could find in my stash that was closest to what is in the kit. So that's where that tag came from. And then part of the envelope, so this part of the envelope, it's going to be 2 1/2 by 5 1/2 inches. It's the part that's above the trees, and so that's what this is for. Okay, and it's got the buffalo check part on it, and that's the side that we're going to use. All right, so let me double check on this piece, that piece of Real Red that I've got 5 1/4, but I measured out 5 1/2. It is supposed to be 5 1/2. All right, so this, oh, and then we need the vellum trees again. So then, this is the card that we're going to make. This is a fun fold card. And so, Merry Christmas from our home to yours. Then it opens up, sending you peace and joy all year long. And then it opens up, peaceful Christmas wishes. And so that last card that we did, the piece of the shaded spruce came off of this section that we cut off. So we're going to score and cut this card base. It's super easy. It's fun, and it's really a neat card to make to have. So you can like change this up. You don't have to be able to see any of the layer that's here, but I thought it kind of gave the front interest, and you knew there was something more behind it. And then you flip it up, and then you flip it up that way. So I really like this card, so we will make this one. So we'll set that right there. I'm going to go ahead and punch out the trees here. Get those where I can set them off to the side. Oops. I keep getting caught on the piece that's getting left behind. That, there we go. Throw that away. And then here's our trees. And there's our piece there. We need to cut this down. And I think all the rest are fine on their pieces. So, all right, so this piece here, because I put on here 2 1/2 by 5 1/2, and it's the piece part above the trees of the buffalo check card layer. So for about, oh, we need the buffalo check card layer. That's it. That was the other thing that I needed. So that's card layer. I need that. All right, so this piece, I need it to be 2 1/2 by 5 1/2. So we will do that first and then be able to set it off to the side. Then we will work on our card base. So 5 1/2. So let's do 2 1/2. It's already at 2 1/2. So now we need to cut it to the 5 1/2. All right, so the reason why I turned it around is if I put this at the 5 1/2, then I'm going to end up cutting part of this here green in half, and then I'll have a half one there. So I'm turning it around so that I have this full green one, this full darker one, and then down here on the end, I'm hoping that it cuts that completely away, and then it looks more uniform to me. At least to me it does. So there's that. And we will take care of those edges in a moment. All right, so this piece, it's like I said, this is super easy, super easy. So we are going to take a full sheet of shaded spruce cardstock, put it in the paper trimmer at 4 1/4 on the 8 1/2 side, okay, on the short side. So basically, this is where you would score it if you were going to make 2 card bases and then cut in half. But what we're going to do is we're going to score up and down, take it out, and now we're going to put it in the trimmer at the 5 1/2, like if we were going to either cut it to make 2, or if we were going to score it so that it was a side long opening. So hope that makes sense so far. So basically, we just made 4 corners. Now then, the other thing that we're going to do is we are going to put the trimmer or the paper in the trimmer at a 1/2 inch on the right side. And from this middle score line up, we're going to cut away the cardstock. So I'm going to bring my blade in, and I'm going to, they have little grooves here, little arrows, and I'm going to find that score line right here. So score line and that blade groove right there. So I'm going to press it into the cardstock and press up. And see, I just cut this 1/2 inch right here, but it's still attached right there. So you want to leave that. And then I'm going to take and do the same thing, a 1/2 inch here. Well, this is 4 1/4. So to add a 1/2 inch, we need 4 3/4. So we're going to go right here and line that up at 4 3/4 the edge, because you can't see that 1/2 inch mark because it's still here. So we're going to put this in, find that score line, and slice up. And so right there. Now then, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim on the score line to cut that piece completely away. I want to make certain I'm on the left of the score line here. All right, so that's a piece of trash. Now then, I'm going to put this in the trimmer. You can use scissors, but when I'm using short scissors, it makes it too like wavy. If you have long, you have a pair of long scissors, it's a lot easier to do. So I'm going to put this back in the paper cutter, and I'm going to trim right down that score line to this score line. And then I'm going to stop. And then the rest of the way, I'm going to use my scissors and go on the inside of that score line to make certain that I'm trimming the score line completely away. And I'll explain why here in just a moment. And now this was that piece that I cut. This piece of the shaded spruce, I cut it from this piece from my previous card. All right. So now then, the reason why I cut on the score line here is I needed a true card base. And the reason why I cut past is so that whenever this is moving like this, oh, I maybe did it backwards. I needed to trim just a little bit off there. I have a pair of scissors, but I don't know how well they're going to do. So I'm going to try it with scissors. So I should have cut the score line completely away on this top section also, I guess. Like that. So, I mean, just maybe, I don't know, a 30-second off. And the reason why is when that comes down and this goes over, you want to be able for it to clear, because if it's the same size and it's up against this here score line, your card will not shut correctly. All right, so the scissors worked in a pinch. So put that up here, and then we will start putting our card together. All right. We need to bring in all of these little pieces. So, whoops, I'll sit right there. And then this long piece of our basic white. Bring in a scratch piece of paper. So like this. And then we're going to do that stamping technique, but I think I want to stamp my Merry Christmas first so that I know how far down to go. So Merry Christmas. I'll come up here to the top, as close to the top as I can get, and stamp. And if I hold the stamp there for a moment, it'll adhere to the cardstock better. Okay. Oh, then we need from our home to yours down here at the very bottom. And hold it here for a moment. And lift. Let's see. Our tag. So I'll set this off to the side. And this one is sending you peace and joy all year long. So ink that up, stamp it to the over here to the right. Probably stamped it over too far, but that's okay. We'll make that work. And then on the inside is the peaceful Christmas wishes. So we'll go ahead and do that also, so we can put the red ink away. All right. So peaceful Christmas wishes. Here at the top of this. Okay, so this red ink can get put away, because I get it all over me every time. All right, so now then we're going to bring in the shaded spruce. And our trees. And I'm going to put it right here in the middle, down close to the words at the bottom. Get up again. Stamp that. up again. Stamp there. So that one's finished. This one here, I'm going to add a little tree on this end. Then I'm going to come over here and add 3 trees, hopefully. So that's finished. And then on this one here, I did it full strength, but I think what I'm going to do is I want to stamp it once, twice, and then do a 3rd generation stamping so that you can sign on this piece here and still be seen. I think that's really pretty like that. A little soft. So you could still like sign your name through the trees and it would do well. All right, so we'll close this up so I don't get that all over also. And I will move all these over and then we will start assembling our card. All right, so the first thing that we need to do is put our row of trees in our outside greeting on the front of the card, but it's Spruce real quick because there's an awful lot of white showing there. So I'm going to just blot it in the ink pad. And blot my finger while I'm at it. So it's not quite so much white showing. All right, so now then we're going to add glue to the back of this piece here. I have a lot going on right here. So we'll do that and close that. Pick this up. Center it up and down on this piece of buffalo check. And adhere it well there. And move this piece. I'm going to attach it here. This one here, this card has several elements to it, so it probably would cost more to mail. So I would say, you know, send this to your dearest friends or your favorite relative if you're going to mail it so that, you know, it's going to cost a little extra, or hand deliver it. And that way you get to see their faces whenever they open it up and they enjoy their card. All right, so now then, bring in the rest. And we're going to bring this portion down and we're going to, oops, I need to use the bone folder to make this lady. We're going to add our red piece here. Our real red. I don't know if the rest of you are like me, but I like to give cards that are like this to people who I know are going to appreciate it. No, not everybody that I know that's going to appreciate it will get this card. I don't know how many of these I'll end up making, but I wouldn't have to use the buffalo chick. I could do some stamping on here with like the snowflakes that are in that set. But the ones that I know are really going to appreciate it, I like to put a little extra into their cards. Not that the other people don't deserve it, but if 2 minutes after they get it, they're going to say, oh, that's cute, and throw it in the trash, then I don't want to put, I like to make their homemade card, but I don't want to make it where, it's going to take me hours to make it, and then it's going to take 2 minutes to go in the trash once they get it. That's heartbreaking. All right, so now then, I have those layers, and then we're going to put our trees on. You can use glue dots, and more than likely, glue dots would be what I would be using. I think I'm going to kind of do what we did on that one card where we do some stamping of those trees to give it some more interest. See, when I do the first card, I come up with the idea, I, do whatever, and then afterwards, I'm like, oh, I could have done this, or I should have done this, or so stamp that up there. And see if I can kind of cut that off like that. Not too bad. All right, now then, let's put our trees, but I'm going to use, I think I'm just going to dot some glue on it, on the center where the tag's going to be. So instead of glue dots, how about like that? It just needs a little bit of something to hold it there in place. So I like that. And if you don't cover it, see, you can see everything there. But that's okay, because we're going to cover that up. So now that we have this last piece of our real red, and it's the 1/2 inch piece. And so I'm going to take a pair of scissors, and you can use a punch that is either a square punch or the tailored tag punch, different things like that. But if you cut up the center and then go from the corner to where you end it up the center, and then come back over here to the corner and cut up to that center again, you get a pretty even flagged end. And then we're going to do the other end as well. So again, only go up about maybe 1/4 inch. Come from this side, come from that side. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of this. And the reason why I just dropped my glue. The reason why we're not popping this up is it would make too much bulk. And so I know that's showing, but we're going to cover that. Okay. Now then, there's my tag. Add some glue to the back of that. Place that there in the center. It covers up any of that glue that was showing. open this up. We're going to glue this to the inside. I keep mine in a little measuring for teaspoons and things, or you could use shot glass. I keep my glue so that's always standing on the tip of it so that the glue's always ready to go. But if I keep laying it down on the table or drop it on the floor, then the glue isn't always at the tip when you need it. So bring this down like that and adhere it. All right, so it looks pretty straight. Bring that down. Fold that over. Now, if you have a roughed edge like this, I have these nail file type things. I think I got it like at the Dollar Tree. And they have multiple different sides for a smooth, for a buff, for a shine. And this is to shape. So the side that says to shape, if you just kind of rub that over that roughed up edge, sometimes my blade gets a little dull. That knocks off any of those loose pieces, those little fuzz balls. That makes it lay nicer. There. Okay. Now then, I'm going to add this to the front here. I don't think thickness wise this card would be too much or to add more postage, but I think weight wise it might add postage. So you want to, I just hold my fingers over here to that scored edge and then lay it down. And because we have dark green, the shaded spruce, the back of that, not as much white is showing. I'm gonna grab this pair of scissors. I'm going to just trim along the back side here. So my blade is following that edge and anything hanging over was cut away. And there we go. That is my fourth alternative card to our paper pumpkin for the month of October of 2021. So I had fun making these cards. I'll bring them all in here and let me move the stamps out of the way. I had fun designing these cards. I had fun making these cards. I had fun making the cards the way that they were meant to be made, but when with the instructions, they gave an alternate also. So there's that one. Here is this one. Here is my shaker card. This is my window pane card. This, whoops, is their version. And this is also their version. Each of these have gems on them. You can add gems to these also. I wouldn't add it to this one because of it being the shaker card, but you could add it to any of the others. They charge extra when you add gems to your envelope or to your cards. They feel that bump in there and they're like, oh, extra postage. So I don't put those on all the time. I do every now and then, but I try to make them pretty with the stamps and the inks and the different papers and with ribbons. So anyway, so here we go. There are 6 cards from a kit that you are going to get only 2 versions. Of course, you would have 5 of each, but right here I have 6 different cards from a kit. These extra cards came from a different kit, but so from just this kit, I have 6 cards that came from the kit that I basically opened. I just used the stamps from the first kit. And then I still have enough to make 4 more of these. And I have enough to make 3 more of these, or no, enough to make 3 more of these, sorry. Enough to make 3 more of these. And then, you know, so right there is 6 plus the 4, so that's, or 6 plus the extra 4. So you can make your kits go farther. You don't have to do them just how they are in the actual kit. You can add cardstock to them. The only thing that I used here, yes, I used this, but I wouldn't have to do that. I could get a package of the DSP that goes with this and use that for some of my background and not use it out of the kit. But just adding a few elements to your kit makes it go a long way. So hopefully you will enjoy your kit that you're going to get from me. And so make, you know, your version or make the version that they put in the kit or make my version. But it's endless possibilities. Just, you know, start cutting and, you know, if you have a card that you like, and it's made with like say DSP or something like that, take that card and just use the supplies that you have here and recreate that card with these supplies. And you don't even have to use any of the supplies that are in the kit except for the stamps to create. So like I said, just use regular cardstock and some stamps. I could have stamped the trees on these pieces of the you know, cardstock instead of using the elements from the kit. So I encourage you to look at what you get and think outside that box. And, you know, I guess pun intended because it comes in a box, and just find your own style. Make your own cards. I enjoyed making this card. I really enjoyed making this shaker card. I enjoyed making all the cards, but this one here I found to be the neatest. I just had to figure out how this card was made, and so it was fun. It is a little bit of a kind of a weighted card, so like I said, it'll probably cost extra to mail this. But anyway, and you could add Wink of Stella to your trees to give them a little bit of shimmer, or you could use light bits of your glue on the trees and then add that glitter that I use for in this to give them shimmer so it looks like snow. The ideas are endless. And there's all kinds of things that you could do with this. So I hope you enjoy the kit that you get from me, those of you that purchased it, and Happy stamping, everyone. Thank you for joining me.